thank all of you for coming. This is the first Water Quality Management Committee meeting in a long time since I've been here. I replaced Rich Muzzy February 1st of this year. In the bylaws for this committee, it's indicated that this will meet on the whatever Tuesday this is of the month or as needed. I'm a very much meet as needed person. We're needed, so we're meeting. I will stumble along as best I can. First, I'll ask, is there a chairman, because I don't know, is there a chair of this committee that should be doing this?
Sure, that's why.
Well, why don't you start it off then? And I'll
Well, yes, we're here to, I guess we have a quorum. That's the first thing to establish, and of the Water Quality Control Committee. And what we're meeting for only one issue, so there's no agenda, written agenda, and that is to look at a site application for the YMCA Camp Santa Maria. All of you should have gotten something on this in the emails, okay? And the SARC committee, we met and looked over the site application, and we put our comments in writing to the applicant. And I guess that's where you can tell us if they responded to the SARC committee's written comments.
They did. They provided the information we requested. There were comments regarding the signed application, a geotech report. Those are the two main concerns, and signage. And the engineer responded to those. We have the geotech report in front of us. The concern about geotech is this is still going to be an infiltration-based system, so at the end of the chain, the water must disappear into the ground. So we simply wanted some assurance that that's going to happen. And we trust the engineer, and we trust the geotech that what they say is what it is. So yes.
So the next thing then would be that the applicant come forward and present your project to the committee.
Before, Nathan, I'll let you introduce yourself and your company. Before we begin, when this... Yeah, let's do a round of introductions, but before that, at the end of this review, I want to let these folks go. We're not going to be here longer than needed, but I'd like to have a very brief discussion on membership of this committee and the SARC, and discuss how we might increase membership a bit, rejuvenate. We have great people, and rejuvenate's not the right word. Just add some technical talent to the considerable talent we have, principally so that we make sure we have a quorum when we meet. So we'll do that after the engineers, after we've discussed and reviewed the project. So with no further ado, Nathan, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Pete. I'm Nathan Martinson, project engineer, project manager for the project we're talking about today, which is the Merriam Tower Camp Santa Maria site application for the construction of a new wastewater treatment facility. If you may not know, the facility or the camp is located in Park County off 285. I believe it's tucked in between Grant and Bailey. Do I just use this to flip through the slides? Or?
Yeah, let me get that going for you.
If there's a magic little wand or something.
No. I use a different version of PowerPoint. You want to start that for me?
Oh, thank you. Oh.
I'm going to turn off these lights if that's okay.
Thank you. All right, so just to kind of start out, a little background of FEI engineers. We're a full-service water, wastewater. We also do INC, instrumentation and electrical controls in-house as well. Started in 2002. We recently merged within the past couple of years. Was it 2013 or 14? with a small firm in Durango called Brillium. So we are now, we're formerly Frschetti Engineering, and now we are FEI engineers. Again, our core capabilities are basically water treatment, wastewater treatment, electrical, instrumentation, and controls. We also do, we touch a little civil and utilities engineering when needed. We're a smaller company, about 20 professionals, about a dozen engineers. We have a staff of planning and funding, a couple CAD designers, support staff, and we do most of our sub-consultant work with mechanical, structural, survey, geotech, architectural. We sub most of those services out, so we stay true to our main principles. Project overview. So the camp is currently utilizing a evaporation storage pond facility for their current treatment. It was built and constructed in 1968. In the past, however many years, 5-10 years, they've received many enforcement action notices from the CDPHE requiring upgrade and monitoring and those things. In the recent years, the operator, or I don't really know of his true title, but he does operations for wastewater up there. His name is Dave Gruber. He's made it known that he believes that the bentonite liner, the clay liner that was installed to keep the wastewater from infiltrating into the ground, has deteriorated and is basically now allowing that wastewater to infiltrate, which it's not supposed to be doing. So, so one of the other objectives here to increase treatment is, as well as to increase treatment, is to increase the service area to basically double it. So they currently have about 120 kids on average during the summer months per week, about 30 staff, so that's about 150 toilets flushing per day, if you will. They want to be able to double that capacity in the future. 300 is a conservative estimate. They don't know if they're going to actually double their capacity, but that's what we're designing to. And based on our alternatives analysis, cost estimations, things of that nature, in the best interest of operations, things like that, we are moving forward with a SBR package plant. So our project goals, basically to upgrade the treatment to the 21st century mechanical plant. It allows for the seasonal fluctuations as we're down to really low flows in the winter, fall, early spring months. There's some cold temperatures up there, high elevation, and also the doubling of the service area occupancy. So more project goals. Essentially, we have to keep the existing facility in operation while under construction, and that's something that we can do. We want to construct this as soon as possible to minimize impact to summer camp, kids, occupants, things like that. We have a plan to utilize existing infrastructure for reuse of the infiltration pond, and also there's currently a primary settling tank that we want to try to reuse for chlorine contact. And again, the current PELs for this project include both groundwater and surface water because of the proximity of the infiltration pond with the North Fork of the South Platte River. And within that, we have to maintain a TIN of less than 10 milligrams per liter, which this SBR will do. And again, this is a fairly simple mechanical plant. Ease of operation is important. We will provide remote monitoring capabilities. We hope to have this thing and start up and operational by the time camp starts next year, which should be next spring. So the purpose of the site location application is it's CDPHE Regulation 22. This falls under Article 22.5, which is essentially layman's terms an upgrade. So under the 22.5, the main objectives are basically this, the site location, what is your service area, what is your size, they recommend an alternatives analysis, Is there consolidation? That's possible. Are the finances in order? Can the owner pay for it? And schedule. How long is this thing going to take to permit, construct, and start up? So as for the site, again, we're going to be placing this. I think we have a site plan here. So as you can see on the right side of the picture here is the existing lagoon. It's empty. There's nothing in it at the date of this picture, which I don't know what date it is, but there's currently nothing in it. So our plan is to, you can kind of see, oh, thank you. You can kind of see the outline of the basins. That is not the right button.
You want the orange button.
Let's see it. Exit. That's what I want to do. Okay. So you can kind of see the outline of the basins and the operations building in relationship to the existing evaporation lagoon here. So this is Highway 287, your entrance. So most of the camp facilities are up to the west, and this would be your access down to the site. And currently this is just basically a bare area of land that's not really being used. What's underneath is the existing sewer, and then you have a primary settling tank right about in there, and then you have the final discharge into the pond. So as we construct this thing, we're going to keep that in operation, discharging to the pond, and then the construction will take place kind of adjacent to that. So what you're kind of looking at here is that's the operations building, which will be placed on top of the first tank of the SBR process. You can kind of see the rest of it, which would be the SBR and the anoxic tank in there.
That's a rendering of what it would look like.
Right, yeah, okay.
So that's a photoshopped image of the building and the SBR.
Correct, yes. Yeah.
May we ask, as you present this
Absolutely,
otherwise?
please do.
The existing pond, let's say the normal pool elevation of that pond, or say the pond bottom, I'm sorry, the receiving lagoon bottom.
Uh-huh.
How many feet of elevation from that to this, I guess that's a recreational pond?
Mm-hmm. I believe the bottom of the pond is about 8,400, whereas the top of the berm is about 8,405. So there's about 5 feet from the bottom to the top of the berm.
Okay.
So you want about a foot of freeboard, so it allows you about 4 feet. And the surface area of the pond is, quit doing that eventually, about 26,000 square feet.
Maybe I don't think I understood you. May I borrow the?
Sure.
What I'm getting at, maybe you answered it, I didn't understand. What's the elevation, the surface elevation
Oh.
of that water compared to the bottom of the pond?
I
How
honestly-
much of a drop?
I honestly do not know.
Do you know the direction, maybe you have a topo map to pull up, the direction of groundwater flow?
Well, I would imagine that I don't know.
That pond and-
I would imagine.
Is the pond down gradient from the, or is the lake down gradient from the pond?
I imagine, and I don't know the answer to your question, is everything flows to the river. So
Oh, okay.
your gradient
There's
is
a river, there's a river between the discharge and the and the
Yep,
lake.
that's the
Okay.
one thing I forgot to mention. Yep. So there is. So the North Fork of the South Platte River goes through there.
Okay.
Yep. And so that's kind of the whole pretense to the CDPHE requiring PELs for both groundwater and surface water. So the surface water is the North Fork there. So any other questions? I forgot to mention that this is a rendering, and so this is not existing.
Took a second for that river to pop out of my head.
Yeah.
It's
It's hard to see.
It's obvious now.
Yeah.
It's
What's-
fine. It's fine.
What's the distance between the settling pond where you're going to discharge and the river?
If I were to guess, it'd be 200 feet.
Do you know the 100-year floodplain? Is the river likely to get up into that?
Potentially. There have been no studies done.
Has it ever, do you know if it's ever happened?
I've asked Dave that question, Dave Gruber. He says that he cannot recall any flooding.
How long has it been there?
20 to 30 years.
And it hasn't gotten into the baseline?
I thought they said it wasn't in the floodplain.
There's a firm map at the very back.
There's a firm map, but so the firm map indicates that there is no floodplain,
Right, okay.
but that doesn't mean that there isn't one. It's just it has never been assessed. So FEMA does not have anything on record.
Right, okay. And the point of this is that it will percolate into the soil and get eventually to the stream. That's the purpose.
Correct. We don't intend it to get to the stream.
It's not a direct discharge.
It is not, no. So we don't know if it'll get to the stream, but we have to anticipate that it will. So the surface area and size, our hydraulic loading is based on historic records, which indicated about 40 gallons per person per day during their maximum peak months of occupancy. So what we did was we referenced Regulation 43, which is regulations for on-site wastewater treatment systems. And for camps of similar size, they recommend 50 gallons per capita per day. So in order to be conservative, in relationship to our professional opinion, what we've experienced with similar camps that we've designed in the past, our professional opinion is 50 gallons per capita per day is more appropriate, and it provides a little bit of conservatism to the historic records of 40 gallons per capita per day. So at 300 guests, 50 gallons per capita per day, that gets us to about 15,000 gallons per day maximum month average. And I will note that this 40 gallons per capita per day was based on historic records of maximum months in the past. So our organic loading, there is no sampling that takes place currently. There was a study that was done by another engineering firm, I believe it was back in 2009. They pulled 3 different grab samples from 3 different points. I believe one was upstream in the sewer, one was in the settling tank, and one was in the exiting the settling tank, and one was actually in the wastewater pond. The data was all over the place. We don't trust it, and we believe it's suspect, and we would need additional monitoring to have more confidence about where the organic loading constituents are actually at for the levels. To touch on the biological oxygen demand, we referenced Regulation 43. There's a table for typical residential wastewater. They recommend 0.17 pounds per capita per day. At 300 occupants, that comes out to about 51 pounds per capita per day. 51 pounds per capita per day at a maximum month flow rate of 15,000 gallons per day results in a concentration of about 407 milligrams per liter. In our professional opinion, again, plants that we've done in the past, and we have done, what, a dozen of these little SPRs in plants. And again, we've worked for other camps as well, and we feel that 407 is a good estimate of what we'll be seeing for the biological
Typically see
oxygen.
higher TKNs or ammonia or nitrogen loadings at camps, and we do plan for that when we design our biological process, or air requirements and SRTs. So that's one, for camps, we get high nitrogen.
Is that because it's less diluted, they're using less water overall, or?
I think I don't know.
They don't bathe as
Cleaning
much.
products could be part of it, what they use. Schools are the same way. Schools, I think it's because the kids tend to pee more than they do other things, but that's just an opinion. We do see quite high, we've seen, above 60 ammonias, which
Yeah,
is higher than typical, and I don't know where we ended up here, but it was higher than a typical domestic collection system.
Question, the 1,700 of pounds per capita per day is the average daily. And the maximum monthly is 51 pounds per capita per person per day.
It's pretty consistent at this camp because that was there's not a lot of difference.
It looks like it varies from average to max by a factor of 20.
I'm not, I'm not.
Your last two lines.
Oh, that should be pound per day, not per capita, Nathan. That's total pounds.
Oops,
Yep.
oops. Yep, good catch.
Good eye.
C is.
Yeah, so if you take .17 and multiply it by 300, you'll get 51.
Okay.
That's my
a
fault.
mistake. Good catch, though.
I was going to say, you were saying that it was very even flow, and it's like, really?
Okay, you were assuming the first line was an average day, and then the second one was maximum month.
So
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 51, so the site app is based on a BOD loading of, organic loading of 51 pounds per day.
That's a slide number.
As a rated organic capacity.
Just to help you keep notes.
This would be slide number 9.
Slide number 9.
Yep.
So you don't have it come up again.
Yep, thanks.
Just a typo.
Okay. Okay, so other parts of 22.5 are alternatives and consolidation. So we looked at a couple different options. Alternative one, it's kind of our go-to. We have a lot of experience with SBR plants. So the SBR plant is able to meet our ground surface water PELs fairly consistently. We don't see that being an issue. It is an advanced, proven mechanical plant technology. For a mechanical plant, there is minimal equipment. It's easy on the operators. They don't have a whole lot to do. It's self-run, it's automated, and they're really not all that expensive. They have a lower capital cost than say, a conventional activated sludge plant, which is alternative 2. We looked at a complete mix activated sludge plant, which is another alternative to a package style plant. Again, this would be competitive and meet ground surface water PELs. It uses more of a more conventional activated sludge plant. Now you're looking at introducing blowers, you're looking at introducing clarifiers with clarifier mechanisms, more moving parts. It's harder on the operators, additional power requirements, and likely more maintenance. Slightly higher capital cost than the SBR, but again, a little less operator friendly. We stuck to 2 alternatives. We are aware that other alternatives exist out there, but again, we felt that these were the 2 primary alternatives that would easily meet the ground surface water PELs that the CPACG have given us. So, alternative 3 is no action. It's not an option. It's failing, and it can't meet current regulation requirements. Consolidation was looked at briefly. The closest consolidation option was Platte Canyon School District, which was about 5.5 miles downstream of the north, kind of adjacent to the north fork of the South Platte. Our only option would be a pipeline, not cost feasible, 5.5 miles of pipeline. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, but it's very expensive. And that does not account for land acquisition, easements, things like that. So, financial and schedule. So the camp is run privately. It's funded privately. So, coming up with the dollars for the initial capital cost of nearly $700,000 and maintaining it long term is not a concern. I don't know what they have in reserves. They wanted to keep that private, and rightfully so. But again, financial is not a problem. And so again, the capital cost estimate is just under $700,000. An estimate of the annual O&M cost is about $22,000, and that includes a Class B operator certification and contract operations through a third party. Moving on to schedule. Is there any questions about anything so far? Okay, moving on to schedule. The process design report has been submitted concurrently with the site application just to kind of keep the ball rolling. We understand that the CDPHE does not do concurrent reviews, which means that they do not technically have to start the process design report review until this site application and the 208 planning signature is on the document. So, we value your signature. We want it on the document, and the CDPHE will not approve the site application without your signature. So we hope that we may be able to get simultaneous approval, but we don't. And so if we do get simultaneous approval, we are looking at a process design report and a site application report approval date of hopefully October. Crossing our fingers, that's kind of out of our control, but if that happens, we do anticipate commencing construction shortly thereafter. And if we can, get in the ground by, early November at the latest, we do anticipate having construction complete and start up by spring of 2017 and ready for the new kids next year. So here's kind of a quick overview, summary of our opinion of probable costs. One thing to note is we are moving forward with the design-build type of construction contract. So our contractor, our design-build contractor, has kind of reviewed our cost estimate here and is on board. And so we believe it's a pretty tight cost estimate of just under $700,000. And there's kind of hard to read, but over the course of 20 years at a 7% discount rate, we're also looking at a net present project worth of about $930,000. So moving on to our selected alternative from our three alternatives was the SBR package plant. Again, it's mechanical activated sludge plant using a batch process. It's effective with meeting the latest regulatory requirements and the PELs that were issued by the CDPHE. Essentially, they're compact, reliable, easy to operate. There's minimal equipment, moving parts, operator-friendly. They're high-quality treatment, and they're cost-competitive. So there's kind of some. Bob, you may want to just interject here and kind of, because these are your photos, I believe.
These are a couple of projects we've done over the years that have used the same SBR technology. The top left one is Serenity Ridge. That's up near Bertha. That's a 30,000 gallon per day SBR. The one to the right, top right, is Schwader Camp up near Idaho Springs. That's a 10,000 gallon per day SBR. What you see in that front end is the bar screen box and the partial flume. The bottom right is another shot of Serenity Ridge. And then the left is actually Dot Cero Mobile Home Park out in Dot Cero, Colorado. That's 30. We've done a couple since. There's quite a few by other consultants as well. Some that pop in my head. There's a mobile home park in Brighton, similar size. I just saw their data last week, and they're getting total nitrogens of 6 milligrams per liter, so I know that's working well. There's a camp up near Estes Park, which I first saw this technology at, that was built a good 15 years ago. That's another fluidine SBR. Shambhala Mountain Center is a 30,000 gallon per day system we did. Great results, infiltration pond. We're pretty comfortable with the technology, but that's what you see there as far as, it could be out in concrete or steel. This particular plant, they wanted concrete, which I like. That's better than buried steel any day. Most developers tend to push it towards the cheaper version, which has a finite life, even with cathodic protection. So we ended up with concrete, precast concrete, or cast in place, depending on if we can get a truck in there or not. So the other thing, which I think...
Oh, I'm just, in your soils report, you have water at 3.5 feet deep. Do you have any buoyancy, buoyancy calculated into this then?
We considered it, and we'll either daylight it with a perimeter drain, because there is a slope where that is, or Nathan and I were just talking about that when we were reviewing the plans. We have to make sure that the weight of the water and the weight of the structure are properly balanced. Actually, one of them needs to be heavier than the other. So, yeah, we'll either we'll put in a hydrostatic basin relief valve, or make sure the slab's thick enough to provide the uplift, or, the weight to counterbalance that buoyant force. So I don't know, I haven't seen the calc yet, but that's something that we're very aware of.
In that picture, is that precast, or did you make that there? Or
That was
did
precast. That's actually a precast vault, and there's a partial, actually, the trapezoidal flume. For small camps, trapezoidal work better because of the shape of the throat, as far as getting debris caught in it. And it's got a manual bar screen on it. And we'll do a similar type arrangement here. Same contractor that did Schrader Camp is on board to do the project for Camp Santa Maria.
And how big is the one in the picture?
That's a 10,000 gallon per day facility.
So this project would be bigger than that?
Yes. Just
Does
about
it go on a
15,000.
flatbed, or do you have to block traffic or something to get it there? Since it's on a mountain road?
If we go precast, which is where we're heading now, then they will need to bring in sections, and they'll need a wide load. I think the max width is 12 feet or 11. So they will have to have a wide load. It's really more of a function of bringing the precast sections in, setting a crane, and being able to bring them into the site, because they're a little bit of a hill down there.
So you build it in like toroids, only they're rectangles?
They'll be,
Bottom of
the
the
way
tower?
we did another plant like this, which gave us the idea, and it's really a cost and time savings, is there were 2 7-foot sections. So you got your base slab and your first 7 feet of walls, and then they'll set another one on top with a double hydrophilic water stop, 2 beads of water stop and a couple grooves to seal it. So a bit beyond the normal ram neck, manhole seal, but a pretty robust seal, but it's a 2-foot section is how we've done it before in a precast arrangement. And if we ultimately can't get somebody to deliver, then we'll cast and place it.
Okay. Just give you a heads up, we built one of those off of, it's on the down slope. You can almost see it when you drive back up I-25. It's by the hockey rink. And it was a windy day, and it was raining, and the walls were shifting, and they had the perimeters to kind of protect the workers that were down in there.
Right.
And that was a scary thing to watch. So if you haven't actually been there for one of those, plan for wind and plan for rain.
Got it. When they had the crane open and it was swaying, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the ram neck is interesting. If it gets stuck on one part, and
Yeah.
who's going to move that thing?
Exactly.
And that was round, and they're actually easier positioned with people than what you got with the rectangular one. You're going to need some bodies there or something to rope it around. Just, but you got a big flat space there if you take down the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Mike?
A question, what is the water supply source for the camp?
Nathan might jump in and correct me, but I believe they have a spring, and it's on the other side of the highway. And that's about all I know, is it's on the south side of the highway and upgrading quite a ways. I guess it's first in the watershed, it's great waters from what I've heard.
Do you know what the TDS level is in the water from the spring?
I don't, no. I know I don't think they're violating any secondary MCLs for TDS, but I don't know.
Generally in that area, in Park County, it's coming out of, you're talking just east of Grant. So visualize the neighborhood. So you're going to have a somewhat acidic, low pH water. Okay. Its TDS is going to be very limited. It's unlike the wells that we would find out here in Falcon. So it's pretty clean water. My concern would be the alkalinity content.
I'm
For your
pretty sure we got a
nitrification
sample,
process.
we got an alkalinity sample, right?
We did not.
Dave, did we get raw water, alkalinity?
Because that
Uh-uh,
typical amount
they're
of
not.
water does.
So we will either get that, because the health department won't approve it unless we show that we're going to have enough alkalinity to nitrify.
Well, it's something you'd look at, yeah.
And so we will make sure, and and I know we looked at it in the PDR, because I wouldn't have let it out the door if we didn't. It's either provided with alkalinity supplement through magnesium hydroxide or soda ash, or we looked at the raw water. And Nathan,
We did provide magnesium hydroxide option.
so we do have an
Yeah.
alkalinity adjustment element, because if you're going to hit a total nitrogen standard, you have to nitrify, and you can't be inhibited with not enough alkalinity.
Yeah, you'll want to look at your raw water, because I suspect there's 50, maybe.
Yep.
That's-
Yep. That's, just about every design we do either has ample influent alkalinity or we add it, because it's critical.
But TDS should not really be an issue.
Okay. And do you know what the TDS is currently on the wastewater?
No, because they don't really, they've been under the radar for a long, long time. And they're being proactive now in that they want to address it, but they have very little data. It leaves the primary settling tank and kind of soaks in the ground. We don't have a discrete point where we can, or they have sampled it. But we don't have a lot of data on what's there now.
Let's see.
Is that the AMEC report?
I think
Yep.
our limit might be 250 UPA for chloride.
Depends on occupancy, high occupancy, storage lagoon is up to 160. Chloride.
Chloride's very difficult to treat in a wastewater system. The only place when I have seen it, we've looked at background levels and then asked for a site-specific variance based on a certain background level of the ground. And I don't recall, it looks like, Jenny, you just looked at it and it was there.
And I don't know if in your, what you're submitting to CPACG is exactly what this is, but it looks like this page is repeated.
Okay. There's a second memo that might be a duplicate in there.
Where are you, Jenny?
Page 2 of 3 of the AMEC report, which is, let's see, this is in Appendix D.
B.
D, as in dog.
Okay.
This looks like that page. It's repeated.
It's kind of funny. It is.
The reason I ask about TDS and the water supplies, I just went through a hearing on TDS, discharge to groundwater, and one of the things we found was a textbook that on wastewater engineering that says typical TDS increase from domestic wastewater use ranges from 150 to 380 milligrams per liter. So I suggest you take a look at your water supply source, TDS, and try to figure out if you're going to be able to meet a limit of 400. Because looking at the preliminary effluent limit for TDS, you're likely to have a limit of 400.
Let's make sure we do that, Nathan.
Cherokee didn't have a limit in their PPLs, but then once the permit was issued, they used the TDS limit,
Yes.
correct?
So my client that I went through this hearing on is Cherokee Metropolitan District, and their PELs didn't have a TDS limit, so their treatment plant was not designed to remove TDS. But right before the treatment plant went into operation, the state issued the discharge permit with a TDS limit of 400 that they couldn't possibly meet. And so they've been in all kinds of problems since then. They're going to have to add additional treatment and then have deep well injection. They'll probably have a reverse osmosis treatment
Right, I remember
process.
hearing about that a couple of years back. That's a great point. Let's make sure we get a raw water sample.
What
or a
is,
finished water sample from Dave.
I think it's on his to-do list. What project was that, if you don't mind?
Cherokee Metro.
Cherokee Metropolitan District. It's still on the Water Quality Control Commission's website, so you can spend
Read all about
days reading about it.
What policy was it, 42? I was looking for that the other night, and it doesn't leap out at you, but it's in the August hearings, and it's down like the one above the bottom one. Policy 42 or something, or Reg 42?
Yeah, it's Regulation 42, and the hearing was August 8th.
Yeah, but they call it a Reg 42 hearing as if it was a triennial review hearing as opposed to a specific permit application or a waiver. I guess it's a waiver to the reg, maybe that's why they.
Yeah, it would have been a change to the regulation if we had been successful, but we weren't able to get the commission to change the standard.
However, is it fair to say the topology out there, all the geography and the geological structures and all that are probably different than what their situation is?
Substantially
Standard
different.
for nitrogen.
I'm sure it's quite different, yeah. Because that's why I asked, what's the distance between the discharge and the river? 200 feet. That's dramatically different.
And the background.
So obviously, there's no use going on between that discharge and the river. No agricultural crops are being grown. Nobody's withdrawing groundwater to use as drinking water
Right.
in that 200 feet.
I was just trying to help them to figure out how to focus. That's a lot of reading. That's 1,000 pages probably.
I know, but I wrote it, so I want
Yes,
to
I read it. You know what's there, so I was asking you to summarize it for them, to guide them on what particular documents might be instructive for them.
Yeah. Okay, I'd be happy to do that.
We will get a sample to see if it is a potential concern.
And if you would, just for your benefit, I would do the raw water that they're drinking
Yep.
before and after the plant. So you can, I'm
See
sure
if
that's
we're
what you're
adding
thinking,
anything.
to see what
Yep.
you're adding.
Yep.
What would the background level be considered, Connie? Would it be the raw water that they're drinking, or would it be what's being discharged to? I mean,
Influent or?
Well, it would be nice to know
Receiving water.
both.
Yes.
Uh,
Three sample points.
Because, the textbook gives a range of domestic use adds 150 to 380. That's a huge range. So if you can see what is in the raw water and then what's in the current wastewater,
Right.
that'll give you a pretty good idea.
I know we can at least get the raw water, the wastewater, I have to see where he can sample. That's one of the problems they have now, is they don't have a sampling
yeah, what
point
flow?
that's.
Do they treat the water with anything
Done
other
some
than a
grabs,
water
but
softener?
I don't like how they're being sampled, so I think we can.
Do they have anything more than a water softener or anything like that treating the spring water?
Not that I saw.
Disinfection?
And also, you don't have much load.
It's generally so soft that you have to treat it to keep it from stripping copper and lead. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, they're not gonna, they should test it. I don't disagree with that, but you're not gonna see a high TDS level, especially where it's a spring and it's coming out of decomposed granite that contains a lot of iron pyrite. Those type of constituents, it'll be more acidic and less TDS than what we would see in this area.
Okay.
By long range.
All right, Bob, I'm going to default to you on this one.
Do you guys want to go through the treatment process? We can go as deep as you want, or do you want us to go through this quick, how the process works, or you want to be respectful of your time?
For my part, I'd like us to be out of here by 2:30. We're a little bit after that, but I defer to the committee and the engineer how to make that happen.
Mr. Chairman, I need to leave in about 20 minutes, so if there's a vote necessary and my vote is necessary, that's my
I
schedule.
think it is, because we are just at a quorum, yeah, we should.
Will we step on it?
Yeah.
Most of us here understand the process, don't we?
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Unless, does anyone not, and do they have any questions about it? I
I can go through it quick, too, in 5 minutes if you want.
Good with the process.
Okay. All right, we're here to questions.
So how does the treatment process work? I'm just kidding.
Well, the question that I have is
I don't get
that in 2022, even these smaller plants are going to come into the Regulation 31. And you're saying this isn't a new plant, so you don't have to worry about meeting those limits, but eventually you will. What are you going to be doing about phosphorus and nitrogen?
I don't think it's, well, nitrogen's pretty low anyways. Reg 85 is 15.
But
So I think we're
rate
covered on.
31 interim value is 1,
So if they apply, if they believe that we're not a groundwater and we are a surface water, and they do a Reg 31, I think the biggest impact's going to be the dilution factor. The
Yeah,
CFS,
compared to the stream.
yeah, I can't remember what it was, and it's in the rationale, but it's significant. And if I recall, even one of the limits was, it was quite high for total, for surface water-based, the water quality-based, for surface water PLs, ammonia was 50, total organic nitrogen was 2,591 daily max. So I think we're probably not going to be impacted by Reg 31.
Because you're so small.
Now, that being said, this is a pretty advanced process with nitrification denite.
Okay.
They may be saved by rolling medium because they're only having the high load in the summer.
Right.
They got a bunch of months that are low.
But that stream, really, a large part of it has to do with release from Dillon Reservoir. Not, so, yeah, most of that water is coming from the Harold D. Roberts Tunnel.
It sure is, and they're just downstream from it,
Right.
hence the PE help.
I have a hydrology question. The infiltration basin, it was originally lined with bentonite.
Mm-hmm.
It's not doing what it's supposed to do, it just leaks like a sieve, apparently.
Mhm.
However, presumably there is some bentonite in there
Mhm.
still. And the design is to use that as an infiltration basin. I think we discussed this in the SART, but I just want to bring it up briefly here.
Mhm.
Is there a thought or a plan to scrape, clean that out a bit, just to ensure that you have adequate infiltration capacity, so you don't have an issue with that?
Yeah, one of the things with ponds is they need continual maintenance. So you usually have to go in and scarify the pond periodically, because you will get blinding
Right.
with small solids. But I don't know, Nathan, if you've budgeted for a full scarification of that pond or a rehab of that
But if
pond,
it- But if it's dry, that's the time, just take a front-end loader in there, just
Mhm.
clean out several inches, move it out.
I agree. I think that's something we need to get in our scope for final design.
Because if that thing starts to seal up,
Right,
what do you do then?
right,
just
right.
where do the
Well,
well?
with that SVR, you'd have a fishing pond.
Yep.
That's something we'll look into. And just to kind of touch on that, so we did, our percolation test results came back. So if we do a conservative, I think that the geotech report came back with a vertical, using a percolation reduction factor to account just for vertical infiltration. They're using a 1.35 inches per hour based on the soils that are out there. So for us to be conservative, we chose 1 inch per hour of infiltration, and at 15,000 million gallons, or 15,000 gallons per day, we need 1,000 square feet, and the existing pond is, it's 28,600. So we have basically a 28 safety factor on
So
that.
those numbers are representative of the native soil material,
Correct.
not necessarily the upper couple of inches of
Correct.
that pond.
That is correct.
And it probably wouldn't cost a lot of money just to make that upper couple inches go away.
I don't disagree, and I think that is something
My
we
property, that, I find a good use for that.
will definitely discuss that with the owner.
Yeah, just don't use it for backfill underneath your.
Yeah.
And You want to call?
No, does anyone else have any questions for the applicant? I'll call for a motion to accept the application and to be moved on to the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board.
So moved.
Is there a second? Seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It passes, so you can bring it on. And then from the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, it will go up to Park County, which most of our projects go to El Paso County. So it's a kind of an odd little thing, but.
So Park County already has a copy.
Yes, yeah. But they'll see that that this 208 committee has
Okay.
looked at it.
Got it. Understood.
So I will get this, it still has to go through, I'm sure, our CAC.
Yeah.
And then from there to the board, I believe we can, we recommend approval. The CAC does their thing, from there it goes to the board. It should be, we should know in October.
Okay.
I will see that this moves through in October.
Okay. Very good.
It's as fast as I could possibly go.
Understood. I appreciate it.
And they may need, I don't know if they need signatures from this committee or not, or if it's just from the board. Might be from this committee. Jenny, you remember, is it?
No, I think,
Did you need signatures from us last year? Just
To
from the board?
take it to the board?
No.
or after the board.
No, that the 208 has looked at it, that it's gone through the 208 process.
One person,
So it may be the board that's.
the board signs it, the chairman of the board signs it, not even me. I thought it would be me, it's not.
Good, okay. Very good, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And everybody else, if you could stay for just a minute, but go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna,
And Roy, if you need to get, you can get. Thank you.
Let me clarify for them. Are you going to send us a copy of what your results are, just for comment?
Yes.
And then out?
Yes, we'll have minutes, and all those who would like to add to the record with an email note to me. I don't know if that's been done in the past, but I did that with the SARC. It's very handy. So if you have anything you would like to add or summarize what you've already said, especially if it's of particular importance, please in the next couple of days just jot your thoughts in an email to me, and I'll make that part of the file. That would really be great.
And I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that it will be approved with comments.
Yes. Yeah,
So the comments will live on.
they'll follow.
So just, somebody else may ask you, what about this comment? Check in the box and all that stuff, so that you're not surprised by it and
Okay.
you have your answers all together, because it's straightforward.
Okay. Very good.
It's just taking samples and getting a couple numbers and things like that.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Nick, you did a good job.
Nice to meet you.
Really good job.
Thank you.
Get me a copy of that corrected, that typo on the slide, because I want to give that. They'll read that, and the CAC will read that for the reduction.
Okay. Great.
That's really important. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, sir.
Hey, guys, Roy, if you need to scoot, but this should be a second.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mike. I would like to revisit the membership of these two entities, the Site Application Review Committee and this committee. We have top-quality people here. I'm not being patronizing, or I'm stingy with my compliments, but that's just an honest assessment. Thank you. I think we have the best here. It would be good if we could add a few to the SARC and even add a few to this committee to make sure that we always have a quorum and also just have other voices. So if you could, offline, I'll be bugging you a little bit with a few emails and say, can you suggest some names for that? And I'll see if we can do that.
What's the definition of the quorum?
I think we have, what, 12 or, how many, what's our total, 12?
It's a fuzzy number.
Yeah, so we
For
have.
SARC or for
No, for
For
the
this.
water quality
water
management?
quality, yeah. And,
There's only 3 of us here for the,
well, and that's just a, that committee just recommends things. It has no real authority, authority.
Peter, maybe an email at the start of the month
Right.
to remind us that there may be no subject.
Good news today, I heard on the radio. Can you tell them?
You'll be hearing more of it.
Yeah,
Why don't
what's the
you
news?
tell us quick?
Oh, well, we did a press release today that we're 100% surface water, so
Awesome,
Wonderful.
0% PFCs.
awesome.
Yeah. So that's why I got to get back is for an interview, so we're getting it out.
How many trucks did you have to buy?
Yeah, there's always that, right?
Yeah. Crack it in.
Works out that way.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good things happen to good people.
Peter, my suggestion was, because I think we get into a point where we don't put this onto our calendar,
Yes,
because we only meet on applications, that if you just at the start of every month said, we don't anticipate anything on the fourth Tuesday
But
this
save the
month,
date.
but keep the fourth Tuesday
okay.
in the afternoon open. That may be one of the problems, because I've been here when we've had virtually every chair filled.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And that was when things were coming in fast and furious,
Is there a point in meeting when we don't have, I'll just be blunt, if we have nothing to do, should we meet?
No, we shouldn't be, I agree with your take on it, that if we have no business to transact, we don't need to be here, but to remind us that this is a reserved date, and that's the responsibility that we bear.
That's it. For the Air Quality Technical Committee, I'm trying to organize a forum just to get everybody together. And it's going to be an afternoon forum. We're going to have, people are going to do show and tell talks for maybe two and a half hours, and then we're going to just have a free-for-all for 45 minutes. And what are we about? What do we need to do? Now, that group is really just a monitoring group. We just keep on top of what's going on with respect to air regulatory compliance, and not too much to do right now. But I'm wondering if it would be good for us to do something like that, maybe early. I know we're getting into snow season, but I'm thinking early 2017, an afternoon forum where we have some speakers. The speakers can be you. We can bring in folks from PPACG, a consultant or two, just to meet and greet and have a forum to talk about what's latest, what's emerging, put our heads together, and kind of a hurrah. So I'm thinking about something along those lines, maybe. And
You may want to combine that with another organization
Okay.
and meet concurrently with them.
Okay.
Because yesterday, the Lower Fountain Water Quality Association met.
Okay.
The first Wednesday of the month, the Pikes Peak Regional Water Authority meets. A lot of the same faces
Right.
show up to these things, and
And we have AFCUR.
and
we have
AFCUR also, yeah.
A lot of the people that used to come to this meeting now go to AFCUR.
Right,
which
and-
is great, too.
So I'm
They have
thinking,
a 12 o'clock meeting before after.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do, I would suggest, without stepping on redone,
that was my suggestion. If you wanted to go with some sort of
Right.
meeting like that, combine it with an existing seated
Yes.
committee.
Yeah.
I think AFCAR is the most active one right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'd do is ask for an update of the point of contact to find out whether the person who came to the meeting the last time hasn't retired.
Right. I'm open to suggestions. I need to shore this committee up. So I'll send out an email with a few questions of my own, and please tell me if I'm not even asking the right questions. I want to breathe some life into this.
And you have the email list for this committee?
I do. That's how I
Yeah.
got a hold of you.
Yeah, and for Fountain, on anything that we have an official seat on, we always have an alternate, so, we fill that every year, and we inform whomever it is that of who those people are, because they change occasionally.
Sure.
Ron's been with the city for 35 years, so he'll still be around 35 years from now.
And in that letter, the update, you could ask who's the primary and who's the alternate.
Right.
to see if somebody needs to create an alternate.
Okay, so
I think I have an alternate, but I don't think she'd ever have to.
I will, I'll do this. That means I have to hit you with some emails. I'll try to keep
That's
them
no problem.
few, but I want to step up to the plate here and shore this up a bit. People we have are first rate. I'd just like to have some more and make sure we have current membership lists.
It would be nice to get some other people, Sark.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would like somebody else at my organization. More engineering person.
I don't know, your comments are
Jenny, you're an engineer. I thought you were.
No, I'm just a lowly biologist.
just.
I'm the grammar and spelling person.
Well, I didn't say you would be off the Sark.
Yeah, you can check it anytime you want, but
I was wondering, Pete, do you know, do we have to work on the 208 plan anytime in the near future? Not
Is there an
today.
That's a good question, yeah.
it's coming up. I'll get
Because
back to you.
that will definitely get everybody here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's every 5 years it's supposed to be, but
When was it? It seems like
2010, I
it's
think.
been a while, yeah, so it's probably time for
Sorry.
that to,
No, that's good. That's good. I'll give you an
A lot
update.
has changed,
Yes.
I think.
yeah.
There's enough scary stuff coming down the hall to promote attendance. If CYA only.
Yes. That's all. I want to thank you all for coming today and contributing. It was a fine session, and that's all I have.
Okay,
Drive carefully, please.
we are adjourned.
I would whack it harder.
You going to come to the
That's a big meeting. Get out.
meeting on the 10th?
Done.
I'm kind of the
I think